All right. Now, for the record, please state your name.
Amanda.
Amanda, you are totally backlit. This is not good. Anyway, no, you look great. You look fantastic. God damn it. Sorry if you're offended by terrible language. There we go. All right. So we're going to start a user interview for the Boss system. I still don't know how to pronounce it.
Boss. Yep. Boss CRM. We use those names interchangeably. So...
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, just how much do you love Boss?
I mean, it works well with DK, so... Everything carries over. So we'll go with a 7.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to give Boss a 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that there are some things that, some information within Boss that could carry over to DK that doesn't as of the moment. Okay. That could be kind of an improvement for it. So for instance...
And you were saying earlier, you actually go between the two.
Yes. So on the sample only side, which is the projects that I run, okay. For the most part, we use Boss, DK, and email. That's kind of like our go-to for everything. So when we get assigned a project, we will get an email from the Boss team that, there's a new project. Let's go on Boss and assign it to ourselves. So we'll see a list of all the projects that we're currently running within the system. And then what you can do is easily assign yourself as the PM if you have, support team. So us here, we're the PM. We have a project associate that helps us run the projects as well. And then you kind of have all the details here, when the project's starting, when it's going to finish. The most important tab for us is the specs tab, because that's going to tell us what's the client looking for within the system.
How does that get entered?
From the salesperson. So before they push through a project to Boss, right. It will be from the salesperson looped in. When they get the bid, they'll kind of implement the specs as to what they were finally commissioned from the client for. So for this one, it's a weekly tracker. So with this, it's the same quotas each week. We know that the incidents will come in about 75%, length 12 minutes, CPI 280. So here are the quotas. So we'll know to implement these quotas for age, gender, ethnicity into DK.
Let me ask you about incidence.
Yes.
How do you calculate incidence rate?
So incidence rate is calculated by completes divided by completes plus screen outs.
And I just want, and this isn't anything about the video, but I just want to let you know that RN actually has a different calculation for that scene.
Do they? Do they include quotafulls?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. That's
okay.
The change.
Yes. So. Well, because on some, so that's our general calculation, completes divided by completes plus screen outs. However, if we have a project with a client where the quotafulls are completely out of hand, we may have if we're seeing 1,000 quotafulls and that's really affecting what we're able to achieve, then we can also, add in completes divided by completes screen outs and over quotas to calculate the incidents having quotafulls in there as well.
How does that visually manifest in DK?
So, in DK, so for instance here, and they kind of recently, which you probably know because you might have done it, they recently updated DK to kind of tell us a little bit more, have some more notes within the system.
I see. I'll actually move this thing way closer.
So if you...
There we go.
Yeah, perfect. So for the incidence rate, we can see that this was bid at 8%, currently coming in at 6.8%. So when you scroll over the incidents, you'll see this little pop-up that gives you the exact definition of how we calculate incidence rate on our end. So it's here, it's completes divided by completes plus screen out. Now, as I said, for quota fulls, if quota fulls is an issue on your project and you want to include that, then you can just, add in the screen outs as well within that calculation. Usually the incidence is going to drop by about 2 points depending on how many quota fulls you're seeing within the system.
How recent was that change?
These changes were within the past month or so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, and even on our bid screen here, we kind of added in some notes to kind of be able to tell the users what each group means. So project details, these are the fields to make sure that they're set appropriately. End links are the requirements for the project, and that kind of stuff. And there's some more notes within the actual traffic screen as well.
Okay, that's awesome. And no, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah. But if you were to go into a project that hasn't been set up yet, that's actually, or hasn't gone live yet, and you were kind of going into it to set up the project on your own right now, these changes with the targeting are really helpful to new DK users, because it'll say, what is targeting, right? It's the specifications that respondents must have to qualify for the survey. So anything that you're putting in this section, you know that if you're looking for males, females, 18 to 24, you would want to plug that in there. And then the quotas are just kind of more for balancing purposes. So you want to make sure that for the targeting, you're allowing everybody that you can into the survey. If you need 18 to 65, you want to make sure 18 to 65 is here. For quota details, that's when we can get a little bit more specific and say, okay, we want to make sure that 18 to 65 is balanced on evenly amongst the groups.
Yes.
So we have been doing a lot of updates to kind of make sure DK is really, easier to use for any new user, and that kind of goes interchangeably with BOSS as well.
Okay.
So, let's see. So there are some changes, especially on the sales side, that I think can be implemented as far as behind the scenes. Like, say we have a study that we're targeting moms 18 to 34, right? That just had a baby, whatever. There are definitely within the system, within the pricing tool, that there can be, and feasibility tool, that there can be updates. Because if you were targeting for just moms with a child 2 years old, right? When you run feasibility, BOSS is not going to take males out of that calculation. So you have to be smart enough on your end to be like, make sure I only target for females as well.
Right.
So you kind of have to, trick the system a little bit. And if you're targeting for moms of kids 6 to 12, it's not going to automatically say, okay, well, then a 65-year-old person isn't going to necessarily qualify for this study. So you kind of have to use your best instincts when it comes to some of those things for feasibility.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
No.
You're like, it should kind of already do some of this stuff for us, right? Yes, and I agree. And that's why I said a 7, because some of these things, if you are newer to the system or newer to, the company in general, you may not think to have to, if you had from a client, you want parents of children 12 to 16, you may put that in and think you're good to go, right? As long as you're targeting parents would that have a kid 12 to 16.
Right.
But in order to get the best results possible, you want to think, what would the age of the parent be that would be most likely
to
have a kid within this group? Right.
Okay.
So there is some additional thinking, and I think that some of that stuff could be easily, implemented into BOSS that may be helpful. Because I know working with Phone was working with one of our new colleagues from RN. And that was one thing that was a little bit confusing on the RN side. Like, if the feasibility is given, it's given, but it's not 100% correct, because there aren't, there's all those little things within the system that aren't being taken into account.
And those little things not taken into account, I'm sure once it hits production, those little things become apparent.
They become a big thing. Yeah. They do. Yes, because what ends up happening is incidents, the main effect is that incidence is going to tank, and the client's going to be like, well, I told you I only wanted, people that were parents of kids 16 to 20, right? So why are we targeting this? And we're still seeing all these screen outs. Like, it doesn't make sense. So that's when it becomes more of an issue in field, where you got to kind of troubleshoot more than possible. Whereas if we did it from the bid phase within the feasibility tool, it would be a little bit easier. So I think, and it's never going to be perfect, because there's always going to be things you kind of have to think outside the box for.
Yes.
And what's the best target audience to reach to get these people. So
you're definitely going back and forth between BOSS and DK. What percentage of time is BOSS? What percentage of time is DK in your average workday?
So it depends on the role, right? So for a PM, which is what I do, I'd say 50% of our time is spent in DK. 30% of our time is spent going back and forth with emails and updates to clients, and then maybe 20% is spent within BOSS. Okay. Now, if you talk to Calvin over here, who is a sales consultant, his perception might be that he spends 70% of his time within BOSS.
Okay.
Because depending on the role, they're mostly in BOSS implementing quotes and getting feasibility and bids and all that stuff. So that can be, for somebody in that role, it can be a solid majority of your day. So, yeah, depends on the role.
Okay.
And then sales, it's probably even less, because sales, they're more out in the field, going out and, and then having the sales consultant or account managers, I think, on the RN side, go ahead and do that for them.
Okay.
So yeah, but no, BOSS I like it. It's definitely pretty streamlined with DK. A lot of this stuff, the information will carry over into DK. So they definitely work interchangeably.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, let's switch. We'll go to DK.
Okay.
Tell me what you love and hate about DK.
I love DK.
Give me a scale 1 to 10 on DK.
DK will go with a 9.
It's a 9. Okay. Awesome.
Yes. Yeah. No. So I was one of the 6 or 7 of us in this office that were trained on STS as well.
Yes.
So definitely, you being able to compare the two systems, you learn that there's a lot of similarities, but there's also a few differences as well.
Mm-hmm.
DK is much more efficient, in my opinion, than STS, which I actually have STS up as well. And the system, just even when you click on things within STS, it takes a while to load.
Yeah.
But within DK, if I clicked on something, it would be a lot faster pop-up. Now, comparing and contrasting the two, so within DK, our quota plans are a little bit, so on the legacy RN side, they're known as quota plans. In DK, they're known as quota groups. So we can kind of, target based on, 18 to 24 age, gender, ethnicity, and then build our quota groups right here. Within STS, it's a little bit of a different setup. So let me go into the difference between the two. So
wow,
you can kind of see, yes, yep. So this is how a quota plan is set up within STS. So you kind of, this one is targeting household children 0 to 18 years old. So we would type in what we're looking for. So this has female children, male children, right? But in DK, if we were looking at female children, the look of it would be just a little bit different, right? Because we have the different age breaks, whereas it's all linear here. And then language, this one is for Canada, so we're going to target English and French. Now, one thing that just was released into DK is being able to target on multiple languages within the quota group, right?
I saw that.
So before, we would have to set up different quota groups for the languages within DK. Right. However, now with the new update, we're able to target on English and Spanish. So that did carry over from STS as a change for us within DK.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Now, STS is supposed to go away pretty soon, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So originally, I think it was for the 7th, so Tuesday, but we were going to have the panels merged. But now I think we're a couple weeks
yes.
in the making.
Yes.
So
that's the integration that we're trying to get done.
Okay. So yeah, so that was kind of why they had some of us be trained within Legacy SSI side, because to kind of help with, a lot of people on the RN side are out for DK training within the next few weeks. So they kind of had us come and kind of help with some of the co-buying jobs, so that way not everybody was completely swamped with work. So within our team, as of yesterday, I think the team here that was trained has picked up 25 STS jobs to kind of help out with that. So so you can kind of see that the systems are very similar in a lot of ways. We're still going to have our quota set up. We're still going to have, our field schedule, invitation, testing. It's more of the view of it that varies based on here, because here we'll see a list and you'll kind of click on what you want to go to. But in DK, this is all within the same page, right? So everything's kind of shown. You're having the same information. You're having, the blend, the incidents, right? The targeting of what you're looking for, but it's all kind of laid out within the same page for you. Whereas here, it's a little bit in a few different places.
Yeah,
so, and you can kind of see that things are a little bit slower here. So yeah, it's just balanced. This is balanced a little bit differently.
Well, since we're looking at STS, is there anything else in STS that is like, awesome, I want this in DK too?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So there are some things within STS that I'm like, this could be beneficial to have in DK.
Okay.
So one of the things is that in DK, if we were in field and the client opened up, they were originally targeting 18 to 24-year-olds. Now they want to open it up. We have more flexibility from their client. They want to open up to 18 to 50. In DK, we would have to create a new quota group after it was live. So we would not be able to use our old group anymore. In STS, you can update and add anything as long as you pause the sample.
Gotcha.
And you can go back and update that. So that's pretty cool because, you know, you could kind of, it saves a lot of time. It would save a lot of time on the DK side, as opposed to having to go ahead and recreate new groups and all that stuff.
Other people have said that.
So so that's definitely something. The other thing that I noticed that I think would be really beneficial on our end is on the coding side.
What's coding side?
So for instance, if a client has variables that they want to append onto the actual link, right? For DK, we already have the codes implemented in the system. So like we would add the tags on the end of the link so if the client said they want age appended to the link, right? So we would type in age so that way the client can have that appended, right? But say the client wanted age and the different ages appended back as a different variable. So they wanted 16 to equal 1, 17 to equal 2, right? When they get the variables back in the end.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
They're already coded on the back end in our system based on, you know, like males equals 1, females equals 2.
Right.
What if the client wanted females to equal 2? You know what I mean? On the STS side, it's a lot easier to kind of manually change that.
Gotcha.
So if we were to go to, so this is a little slower. So where, apologies, I'm still learning this system a little bit.
I'm not judging.
So let's see. Trying to figure out where that page is. Yeah, it's slow.
Yeah.
For sure. Trying to figure out where that page is. Okay, so here.
Yeah.
So.
Your mapped ID.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, if a client wanted one of these things passed back on the link, we're able, now I can't do it because this is live.
Okay.
But if we wanted age, right?
Yes.
We can kind of tell the client, have the client say, it's currently going to pass back as this, but they want it as this. So you can kind of type it in in a more unique way.
I would never have guessed that would be a thing.
Yes.
It's a thing.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
And more clients lately have been wanting the data passed back on the link so that way they can track age, gender, region on the link as opposed to maybe not.
Aren't they getting that anyway?
They are. And they're still going to get it at the end in their data file, right? So, and we can still export it for them at the end if they want to.
But only at the end. This is more like I'm seeing it as
it comes in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yep. So it's more real time for them to kind of be able to look at it and monitor it.
I can see that being very fun.
Yes. Yeah, and then you can
very entertaining to actually click refresh, and see things happening.
Yes.
I did that with SurveyMonkey, by the way. I put a survey out there. I couldn't stop hitting refresh.
Yeah.
Yay, more people answering. So anyway.
Yeah, so I think that as far as the quota groups, you know, being able to go back in and add things is definitely something that can be beneficial.
Yes.
And then for the tagging feature, when you're appending variables on the link, I think on the STS side, they have it very client friendly, where if a client wants something, you know, showing on the link a certain way,
right.
it's very easy for us to just type it in
Mm-hmm.
and say, this variable we want it to equal this.
Okay.
Whereas on our side, if I wanted to change it, I would have to go through our client services team to change that on the back end. So that's definitely something that would be good. And again, you know, with the dual language, that's something that's already been updated. That was a very cool feature. But I think those are the two main things. Oh, and the other thing, when uploading IDs on our end in DK, we can only upload it as a text tab, delimited. If you try to upload IDs into the system via Excel, it would give you an error.
Oh.
So that's definitely, because a lot of clients send zip files and all that stuff within Excel. So it would, you know, it's just a few extra steps kind of trying to...
You'd have to open up Excel, export it as
yes,
tabs. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
So that's, I mean, it was very cool yesterday when I was working on STS and I'm like, oh, I can just drag and drop this right into STS as opposed to having to go, you know, it's more of extra steps, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it may be a little bit confusing to somebody on the legacy RN side if they were trying to upload it and they kept getting an error page, not realizing that it would have to be
there should be no reason why we couldn't recognize an Excel file and parse it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that would be kind of cool too. A lot of times because clients very rarely send text tabs to us. So that's definitely something that would be beneficial.
That's very cool, yeah.
As well. Natalie was actually, hey Natalie. So we are. Okay. Any other things that you found in STS that you'd like to have implemented in DK?
Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
You're on video again.
I think I pretty much just said the ID upload is really helpful.
Okay.
And then, I mean, that was pretty much, and the true up.
Oh, true up. I didn't get into that. Okay.
Actually, someone was mentioning that yesterday. I have no idea what a true up is.
It's just when you are able to, so if somebody removes 10 completes, we can fix the quotas in DK so that it'll show the actual needs instead of just having to add on to the total, because that gets confusing. You have to like keep track on a piece of paper how many removals you have so that you know.
You say it's confusing. I'm still confused.
Yeah. So true up, it just tells you how many good completes you actually have.
Oh.
Because you can actually remove completes from the quotas.
Right.
Really?
Whereas in DK, like if you have 500 completes and they remove 10, there's no way to then tell the system you have 490
Who is
completes.
they that would remove them, and why did they remove them?
The client.
The client. Sorry.
The client removed them.
Yeah, yeah.
For why?
For fraud or any, cleaning, data cleaning.
Okay.
Because our system is very based on what we have versus what we still need, right? So DK is going to say...
let's try... thank you.
Thanks, Natalie.
Show me a true up.
Well, okay. So we would go into
I'm going to move
STS,
this over here. There we go.
So within DK, if I'm seeing 606 completes, in DK, the total quota that we're aiming for is 767. So we know we have, like around 150 to go. So this DK will push sample accordingly to kind of ensure we hit that goal within the time frame. But that's not taking into account removals, right? So if we need to finish by end of day today, and the client comes back to us and says, okay, but we have 50 that provided bad open ends in the study.
Okay.
Now we have to up the quota to account for another 50, right? Whereas we kind of already lost time because we wanted to close the study today, and it was sending sample just to hit our original target. Now, in STS, there is a true up feature. So let's go into the field statistics. here you can kind of see the fielding schedule, and it kind of demonstrates how, you know, how you want your traffic to come in. You know, on the first day, do you want to get about 10%? Do you want to get about 30% on the second day? All that kind of stuff. So it kind of gives you, you know, a guide as to how you want the sample to come in.
Interesting.
Now, this is what Natalie was talking about with the true up.
Yeah.
So if you were to click the true up button, you would update it to the exact count of what you currently have. Right now it's 41 and 41, right? But say the client took out 10 and 10. So I would update this to 31, 31, right? If I was to click the true up button, it would say that, okay, now I only have 62 out of 800.
Okay.
And that would recalculate our whole field schedule here to say, okay, we've got to make sure within this time frame we pick up those additional 20 completes in the time period. So it's kind of just allowing the system to know of the removals ahead of time and to kind of calculate that into the speed when we are going for the complete.
And I can see that actually that would have to like change your quota fulls. It would actually recalculate almost every number that you're doing, and you want to do that dynamically.
Yes. Okay. Instead of, whereas DK, we're doing it kind of, unless a client is giving us updates throughout the study, we're doing it more.
You're doing it manually.
End. Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Manually and at the end.
Yeah.
So literally, DK, you would, if you had like 1,000 quota fulls, client said, I'm dropping 20 of these because they don't like the answers.
Then we have to go back and re-invite those IDs that went to quota full that may be able to participate now with the open quotas. But it's harder to get somebody back, you know, once they already hit the quota fulling, than to kind of just get them into the study from the beginning.
I bet.
So, yeah.
You're not going to fool me twice.
Yes. So.
Okay, cool. Well, all right. I'm totally overloaded. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. And just real quickly, no one has this amount of awards in all of SSI. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.